On today's episode of the DNVR Broncos Podcast, we're talking safety rankings, including Brandon Jones ranking higher than Talanoa Hufanga. Kind of interesting. We're talking AFC Power Rankings because, I don't know, it's ranking season. We might as well make some of our own. And then hopefully today we actually will talk about the Packers game, but can't make any promises. So we'll start all that off here in about 30 seconds. This is the DNVR Broncos Podcast. Still don't have a presenting sponsor.
Woo!
I always want to say
off season.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
In season, basically coming up. August. I'm telling the salespeople.
Weeks
you better
away.
count August as in season.
Yes, we are in season.
We will
in
be
August.
doing numbies then.
Preseason. They have literal games.
Yeah,
So
I know. Yeah, you ready to do some preseason, pre and post game shows? It's gonna be lit.
Preseason is when I thrive. This is when like the hours and hours of watching film on undrafted guys.
Dusty.
That's
Dusty forever.
for this next month. That's when like
So great.
it all pays off.
I know all these people who are like, "Oh, I miss football." Grind some film, bro.
I know.
YouTube.com.
It's right there. It is right there.
Yeah.
There's as much football as you want right there.
Damn straight. Now, no presenting sponsor, but we are coming to you live from the Toyota Lounge.
Yes, this is the Toyota Lounge.
Yeah, we are driven by your front range
already
Toyota
have friends in the
stores.
Toyota chat.
Yeah, Dusty, my
Yes,
guy.
We are driven by those stores. I'm Henry Chisholm, you're Andre Simone.
Damn straight.
All sorts of stuff to say. I think
Oh man, it's such a vibe podcasting with you.
I know.
We don't hit many topics, but
No.
boy, do I have fun.
And I think that when we do hit a topic, we hit it really well.
we do.
We go in depth.
We
I
murder
think we have a lot to
topic.
say.
Yeah.
So yesterday we didn't get through everything we wanted to talk about. We hardly got through any of it really. Today,
25%.
though, we are planning safeties to start. ESPN's
Yeah.
safety rankings came out. Those should be kind of fun to look at. Same things, the execs, the coaches, the scouts,
Jordan,
they all
my
vote.
guy.
And in theory, these should be some of the better rankings that come out.
Instead,
We've got
they're fine. They're fine.
AFC Power Rankings that
Ours.
we are going to make.
Ours.
Those are actually good rankings.
And we actually stay up for the games.
I didn't actually prepare
We're not
for this.
resentful local scouts who are crapping on people for wrong reasons. So I'm sure you'll love them.
Yeah.
Ours will be undisputable.
True. Nobody will dispute them.
Broncos
Nobody
won?
anywhere. Yeah. No disputing that.
There you go.
Who would dispute
Starts
that one?
at 2.
Yep. And then hopefully today we'll actually talk about the Packers.
Oh my gosh.
If not, well, maybe tomorrow. Well,
I would set the line of, do we get to the Packers at guesses plus 400?
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd
So
take the plus
place your
400
bets.
though.
Place your bets.
I take the. Oh, last thing on the
My guy's making me feel so good.
Yes.
And I remind you, we're trying to up
Yes.
those likes, right?
We
I
are.
did,
Yes.
I did not
Oh, yeah.
jump on AI to create 1,000 different Gmail emails for
No.
myself.
Maybe tonight.
Maybe tonight.
Probably getting pushed.
to corrupt the
Maybe
numbers.
tomorrow, yeah.
Also, has anyone heard where Zach Stevens is vacationing?
He tweeted a picture of himself at the airport and told people to guess.
I know your team, Japan.
I haven't read the replies. I'm
I
always Team
threw
Japan.
Croatia out there.
My sister's about to be Japanese.
Shout outs there.
Yeah, shout out Japan.
You threw out Fiji as well. Fiji's such a vibe, dude.
Yeah, wow.
It was more in your Mando read.
Oh, that's right.
It was a
Mount,
soft.
Mount Fuji in Japan. Did you miss? Yeah, never mind.
Fiji is a country, though, right?
It is.
Okay.
Mount Fuji, a mountain.
I did not want to come off as a ball knower.
Okay. No, I do want to say the one more thing about when you watch all the undrafted guys, you study, you know it all, and then you show up to mini camp, and one of the radio guys says like, "Oh, who's that guy?" Nobody will ever know. And then I get to say, "Oh, that's Joaquin Davis. He's like a freak. He put up 463 yards last year."
Joaquin Davis.
And when every single guy on the roster it feels pretty good because everybody else is confused and looking at the roster, and I'm just like, yeah, no, I know his mom's name.
Yeah, people don't know Joaquin Davis.
Crazy.
Fran highlighted him
Crazy.
like the week after the draft when we had him on.
Yeah.
All my homies know who Joaquin Davis is.
One radio guy did not. Shout out to you if you're listening. I do support you.
Oh, sad.
Okay.
You do support
ESPN's
true. My guy
safety
listens to the
rankings.
Raiders.
We talked about a bunch of them. This one is another really interesting one. We've talked about how they formulate them. 70 different voters. They're all within the NFL somehow.
Young.
Yeah.
Young position.
Yeah. Very young. Starting with the 24-year-old Kyle Hamilton, number 1. Somebody ranked him as low as number 9, which I think is interesting. I do think this is the right answer.
All my homies hate box safeties, so maybe that's part of it, you know.
Do they still, though?
I know.
Is the box safety back?
I know. We're kind of back in the box.
I think so.
Yeah.
And you throw in like the couple plays he made, like deep, because he does have like the ability to do the other stuff. And all of a sudden, it's similar to like the Myles Garrett conversation yesterday, where you say like he defends the run, he gets to the quarterback.
Complete.
What more could you ask? And so like
we didn't get to the running backs, but similar running backs is going to be a similar conversation.
Yeah.
There's pass pro, ability to run inside, outside, ability to catch the ball. You check off more boxes like you and I.
But then you also have a Derrick Henry at number 2, who is not like us, so one-dimensional.
He's a hoss.
And you have to be so good at that one
I
thing.
like him as an outside. I mean, best outside runner of this generation.
Okay, yeah.
Also, you check off lots of boxes.
But like the
Rockies,
receiving
draft
stuff?
pod,
Oh, yeah.
Broncos, film grinds.
We have so many Nuggets guys that
You
never
could
get
talk
to sub on
Buffs
there
or
anymore.
Rams if you needed
Yeah,
to.
Rams would be a little tricky. Most because I know
fair,
more like
fair.
of the talking points. I
Yeah.
could give you like the basic like. CU doesn't think they should schedule this.
Okay.
It's
So
like
that's
if
your-
they just had invested back in the day, back when they were good, they could have.
You're like a running back who's bad in pass pro.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're great out the backfield, inside, outside running.
Rotate me in for a couple screen passes at my house.
Yes.
But yeah, very limited. Okay, Kyle Hamilton. We're 7 minutes in. Kyle Hamilton, number 1. Would he be your number 1?
Yeah.
I think, yeah. I mean, there isn't much case against it.
Yeah.
Interesting, though, Brian Branch, number 2. I think
Yeah.
also, when you look at some of these previous
He's
lists.
23.
Yes. When you look at the previous list, it's like, oh, Saquon Barkley, number 1. A couple ballots, they had him number 2. Or like Myles Garrett, a couple ballots, he was as low as number 2. These ballots are all over the place. You look at Kyle Hamilton, ranked as high as number 1, as low as number 9. Brian Branch, high as number 1, unranked on some ballots. Xavier McKinney, number 3, 110. Like, there is nobody who
variance
wasn't
is
voted
real.
as low as number 9 or behind, which
The variance is real.
maybe
Which is
some
great.
of that has like a flavor thing.
I mean, it's a bit of in the eye of the beholder, too.
Yeah.
Because what type of safety do you really
Yes.
like? What type of safety do you really value? That's so scheme dependent.
Because before the box safety, it's like kind of dime a dozen, getting phased out of the league. Now,
Well, it's just, I mean, you can find a bunch of guys who can do that.
and by before, that's like almost like 5 years ago. Because before that, the box safety was like a big thing. Like when Jamal Adams is drafted, even like that was kind of the turning point. He kind of timed things at the wrong time.
Revolutionary. It's like,
Absolutely.
oh, now half the league is running cover 3. Oh, we need our box
Exactly.
safety because how are we going to play cover
Exactly.
3 without our Cam Chancellor in the box
Yep.
coming downhill?
And
And
the big
blah,
thing
blah,
is
blah.
you're starting to see. So last year, 12 personnel.
Also, Honey Badger had a lot of juice.
Shout out Honey Badger, as always. 12 personnel used at a higher rate than ever before in the NFL last year. So two tight ends on the field. The idea being you break the defense because you want to go heavy. Guess what? One of these guys is going to be matched up with a linebacker, and he's going to win that matchup. So how do you get around that?
Also,
Well,
the disguised 12 personnel is the real, like,
totally.
mind effer because, you know, you have that tight end
Totally.
a la Evan Ingram. Well, it's 12. Is it really 12 personnel or is it kind of 11?
Exactly.
With the 3 wide receivers. But now
Exactly.
that slot's a big guy who's like, safety's going to have his handful. Nickel's going to have his handful. It's like, good luck finding. You basically need an edge rusher who can cover.
Evan Ingram,
And that doesn't happen.
Lil Jordan Humphrey, very similar players. Even build-wise, athleticism.
Yeah.
The value in Evan Ingram is that he is called a tight end. So like the idea, like, oh, you shift Lil Jordan Humphrey to tight end, then all of a sudden it doesn't work.
Better receiver.
Evan Ingram or Lil Jordan?
Evan Ingram.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, just making sure.
Pretty big
But just making sure.
Yeah.
But like, you don't just get to do that because you don't get to decide how other teams kind of account for him. Evan Ingram has somehow stayed in the tight end box where you get to say this is 12 personnel. But you go back a few years to the Bills when they were one of the very first defenses to stay in a nickel defense all the time. And so
that McDermott, he's a sneaky one.
He is. And how do you do that with a guy like Taron Johnson at nickel, who is kind of the safety? He could play some corner, but he can do all sorts of the big safety type things too. And that's why you start to see this comeback. Where Kyle Hamilton, he's a do-it-all. Maybe you put him aside, but Brian Branch at number 2, I don't think that 10 years ago, Brian Branch's value is not this high. Because at the time, you didn't have this new trend of everybody's running 12 personnel.
Yeah.
How do you get to nickel so that you can cover the pass while still defending the run? And right now, this big nickel is kind of like at its peak. This is the most valuable that has ever been.
Because of the receiving tight end and all the 12 personnel. And this is where Jahdae Barron has a lot of value.
And that's where Jaquan McMillan has been so valuable because he is such a good run defender. Now, he isn't the biggest, but he plays so much bigger. Exactly. And so Jahdae Barron, typically nickel in the first round, I don't know, in this modern game, makes more sense.
And this is where we talk about value in the eye of the beholder. For me, the most valuable safety prototype a team can have in the modern NFL is actually the deep safety.
Interesting.
It's why Earl Thomas for me is kind of Ed Reed, right? Like, those guys can, because they're so rangy in their ability to cover deep, in some ways they almost account for 2 defenders to me, you know?
Yes.
So that has a lot of value, much like a defensive lineman that commands 2 blockers has a lot of value. When you can alter the math pre-snap on the football field, that makes a huge difference to me. So that's why, to me, the deep safety is a little better. And this is more skewed towards the box and the big nickel, the diversified nickel defender who can do a variety of things. And most of all, have that physicality, so you feel like while we've taken a linebacker off the field and gone into a sub package,
we aren't losing our physicality.
Exactly.
We're still, yes. And I don't. So up next on the list, Xavier McKinney, Jesse Bates at number 3 and number 4. Deeper type safeties. Again, good safeties can do all sorts of things. And modern NFL, there's so much like disguise pre-snap, rotate based on how the offense lines up. You don't see so much like he is our free safety, he is our strong safety. I think even the Broncos, I think they still call him just right safety, left safety. And it's like, it's just on any given play, one could be up, one could be down.
That's so old school.
Yeah, you're kind of getting back to it. Which like old school, again, sometimes we mean old school as in 10 years ago, 15. That's like way old school.
Yeah.
Like real old school.
The whole not identifying safeties as who's a free, who's a strong, who's a nickel actually kind of bothers me.
Yeah.
But this is a battle I fought back in the day with the DN defensive tackle edge rusher thing, outside linebacker DN, and we've won that battle.
We have.
They're literally listed as edges now.
Now that that's what it is in the video games, it's official.
It is on the draft betting props.
Wow, there you go. Yep. I mean, those are our holy grails right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, those deep safeties, I don't think you're wrong in saying they're more valuable.
Great combo.
But I do think that there is Brian Baldinger
They might possess less rare traits, though.
Yes.
That deep safeties may be more reliant on IQ and less reliant on the rare traits that are 100%. Hard to find.
Brian Baldinger came on our show a couple weeks ago and said, we were talking about the Minka trade, where it's like, how do you trade Minka? Well, turnovers were down the past 2 years. And when you're a safety, especially a deep safety, you need to force turnovers. And there is a piece of that, as much as like Xavier McKinney, incredible turnover stats. I can't remember, led the NFL in interceptions last year, though. Jesse Bates, crazy interceptions for a long period of time, so it's proven. There is still a piece of me that does see even those interceptions, the ball hawking, ranging, over the top, getting the receivers they shouldn't be able to get to, as still being a little bit fluky, a little bit dependent on the offense. And that's where...
To me, turnovers are super fluky. It seems like a tough data point to put all your baskets in.
If any turnovers...
More so than sacks. which was
Yes.
a big topic yesterday.
Agreed. If any turnovers are not fluky, though, I do think it is the safety, deep, ranging, roaming, over the top, tip passes, overthrow. There's still like some luck involved. It still is a fluky stat. And because it's a fluky stat, it's tough for me to trust in some ways. In that,
Correct. Rightfully so.
when it comes to saying which safety is the most valuable, the turnovers are massive. But I think there's also going to be that little doubt in the back of your mind, whereas you see Brian Branch just like playmaker in the nickel, getting in there, making plays over and over and over again. The volume of opportunities, I guess, is so high when you're in that spot of the defense. Not necessarily interception opportunities, but to make tackles for loss, to do whatever, to win your matchup in man coverage, versus a deep safety where it's such a low volume position that maybe the high volume box nickel type safety, that's where the value comes from. You know?
I mean, it really comes down to the pre-snap math to erasing matchups.
Yeah.
So I think it's how are you erasing those matchups? Sometimes you are like that. And we can talk about more of the traits specifically.
So we got through the first 4 of these, but
the book has shut down any bets
we were hoping
on
to get through
talking
all
Packers. You can't get it on the plus 400.
Real quick
anymore.
though, before we speed through a few of these, gotta give a shout out to some of our friends, including our friends over at Monarch Money. Once you hit like mid-month, to me, that's when it's like big budget time. Where like look at the bank account and you're like, okay, I've either the bets were the bets hitting, were the bets not hitting. Have I gone shopping this month? Generally, no. Have
Did I
we
get
gone
new
out to
hats?
eat too much? Like exactly Rockies games. Did we go to a couple Rockies?
Right.
And so mid-month is when I start like looking at the finances and being like, well, okay, gotta shut it down. Or in another month, like I'm still hoping to get to 3 Montana games this fall.
Go Grizz.
Flights looking like about $210 each or so. And
Grizz
it's
up.
like, could this be a time where it's like, I'm going to buy the first one of those? It's like investment, pay it off now. If you want to be even better with money than I am, which probably isn't too tough to do.
What you just described is terrible.
It is really terrible. You should budget the entire month, not just the second half after being like, I've got money right now. Monarch Money is great for you.
Let's go.
If you're trying to plan expenses in the future, wow, Monarch Money really is awesome. They help you manage your finances, all your accounts, credit cards, investments, all in one place. You can just track it right there. Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025. That's this year. So that's currently the best app. Over 30,000 5-star reviews. You can get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use code DNVR at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code DNVR.
Nice. And a shout out to our friends at First Bank, whether on the road, at home, or somewhere in between. First Bank makes banking easy, convenient, and secure. Their mobile banking app allows you to check balances, pay friends, and manage your money anytime, anywhere. This might help you for some mid-month budgeting, Hank. The best part is open a new First Bank checking account today, and you could earn $300. First Bank is all about helping you stay on track. Their tools make it simple to stay in control of your finances without the hassle, no matter where life takes you. First Bank gives you the freedom to bank how and when it works best for you. So if you're ready for a better banking and the chance to earn a little extra, head to firstbank.com/bonus. That's first spelled out FIRST, bank.com/bonus to open your account. Bank how you want, when you want with First Bank. Certain restrictions and requirements apply. Member FDIC.
All right. People in the chat talking about the fluky interception thing. I want to say more clearly what I said, because I was kind of all over the place. All turnovers are fluky. They generally require like a mistake from the offense. Safety turnovers, deep safety turnovers, the least fluky of turnovers. Those are the ones you can trust the most. Still fluky.
Sure.
Still fluky though, in that like it is a turn. You need something to go wrong. As much as you can go steal a ball because the ball's in the air longer, you have more time to make a play. It isn't just like, oh, just happened to find me on a bullet pass right to my gut. There is still a piece of it where it's like, at what point do you trust it versus the flukiness? And on top of that, you look at a guy like Justin Simmons, We all know the stats, like most interceptions in the NFL since he entered the NFL. Broncos decided they could save 15, 16 million bucks, let him walk. We all thought it was crazy. He goes to the Falcons, 2 picks last year. And all of a sudden it's like his value is tanked. Whereas again, 2 years ago on this list, we were upset he wasn't number 1 because the previous year he was number 1, but he got bumped to number 2. That was only 24 months ago that was the Justin Simmons conversation, which is going to go out there and snag, what, 4 or 5 million bucks as a 31-year-old? Like there is...
Right.
When you talk in deep safeties, that's just the piece of it where...
I mean, it's also a small sample size issue, right?
Totally.
Like it's hard to go off of interceptions. Like, you know, comparatively speaking, yard per rush attempt, much more reliable statistic than turnover, right?
Yes.
Because we have 300 attempts to go off of and base that statistic
exactly.
on. So,
on top of that, like all stats, there's like a range of like points allowed for a defense over the course of the season. Good stat in terms of saying like who are the best defenses, but there are a lot of stats that would predict future success better than just how many points have you allowed. Because again, there's like flukiness and how that goes, whereas when you can count every down and go yards per play or DVOA, they're more predictive stats. Whereas interceptions, you know, always a strange conversation. Let's get to number 5 though, because now it's 11:21. Kirby Joseph is there at number 5.
Second Lions safety to be featured.
Yep.
Another very young player.
I think there's a piece of this that is... we don't have time for a huge roster building conversation, but investing in safeties, when you look at the Lions, so much talent across the board, one of the ways you do that is by saying we can get a top tier safety for what they gave Kirby Joseph, 4 years, 86 million. So a little over 20 million. We can get a top tier edge rusher for like, they're going for double that now. You see some of that with the Broncos.
For sure.
You invest at safety, at linebacker, at tight end. You can get 3 talented players versus you want to go top tier edge rusher. Bang. There's that entire budget all in one guy. So, two guys in the top 10. Something interesting there.
It's not how I'd build a team, but yeah.
No. But there is, again, it's like running backs. 2 years ago, the running back market had finally gotten so low that the teams that were able to snag, you know, Saquon or Derrick Henry or whatever for 12 million bucks. Moneyball, you know, production per dollar. We can move on. Number 6, Derwin James. Number 7, Antoine Winfield. Number 8, Budda Baker. Maybe even number 9. No, let's not throw him in there. More just generally box, nickel type safety. Maybe a little less of that with Winfield.
Yeah, nice and instinctive.
Yep.
Honestly, older guys, but guys who are more established.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
Yep. I think with the better, it also seems to be fairly reliant on team success.
Also, so seems to be the case.
Aside from Bates.
Yes. Minka at 9.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sounds right.
Got to put him somewhere. Minka was the guy who was right in front of Justin Simmons that we were angry about 2 years ago. But yeah.
Yeah, and I was complaining off air about the Derwin James rankings. He has appeared in 16, 16, 14, and 15 games the last 4 years. So
more than you'd think.
That is quite a bit more than you'd think.
I guess every missed game for a Charger feels so big because there are so many missed games for the Chargers.
It's all they do.
Yeah.
All they do is miss,
miss,
now no
it's
matter
Derwin.
what.
Oh, now it's Bosa.
No doubt.
Yep. Julian Love at 10.
Yeah.
Kind of surprised us. Shouldn't even say kind of. Really surprised us. I guess I haven't watched a ton of the Seahawks. Like I knew like the football stat nerds were saying like, oh, this guy's awesome. But when you're in a defensive backfield with Tariq Witherspoon, Tariq Woolen and Devon Witherspoon, Devin Witherspoon. I think it's Devin.
I'm a Devon guy, but whatever you say.
Because Devin
I'm
Key,
usually wrong with the names anyway.
That is true. Whatever you say is generally
I would agree.
wrong when it comes to names.
Shout out Zachary Carter.
Reek Woolen, not shout out Zachary. Yep.
To some Zachary, sure.
Yep.
Sure.
Reek Woolen had the one really good year, hasn't been great. Witherspoon, one of the best nickels in the NFL. So I guess I hadn't thought as much about Julian Love, but 10 on the list, I guess he's great.
Converted corner, playing safety the last 2 years, racking up 7 interceptions, 22 pass deflections, 232 total tackles. Yeah, I get it. This is another one, just like the value of tackles, we're often talking about guys that can be then converted to guard. When looking at cornerbacks, the conversion to safety is a nice like secondary plan for
Jahdae Barron.
Damn straight.
You draft him, and we hope he's a awesome boundary cornerback, most valuable spot in the secondary. If that doesn't work out, then guess what? Great nickel cornerback, a little bit more. We've talked about that. And if not, move him to safety. There's like a third way that he could succeed.
Imagine that.
The bust risk just gets cut in half with every one of those.
That's right.
Number 11, Javon Holland. Honorable mention, but number 1 honorable mention is number 11. And then 12, Brandon Jones.
Brandon Jones, yeah, with a nice little write-up, has a knack for being around the ball, very good instincts, tough and willing tackler. Doesn't stand out athletically as elite, but he puts himself in good spots and is very smart football player. I think he's a little underrated. Veteran AFC scout. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of described as the valuable deep safety.
Totally.
And to think that just a year later, he's the one featured in the top 15 and Justin Simmons isn't.
Yep. And I think
Simmons without even an honorable mention.
Yeah. I think Brandon Jones, just great scouting from the Broncos. So he was a box safety for the Dolphins. Generally, third safety comes in, plays some nickel. Known as a really good blitzer, but that was kind of like the extent of what made him good, is that got into the backfield. It comes to Denver, and again, their safeties do all sorts of different things. Very good deep. When I was writing the film room after they signed him last offseason, and going back and watching when he was playing deep, it was shocking how good he was. You know, you go back and look, and you're like, wait, his reputation is in the box, gets into the backfield, does a blitzing, and then you watch him deep, and you're like, well, there's no complaints. You go back and watch, the Dolphins had, I believe, a wild card round playoff game against the Chiefs. You watch him in man coverage against Travis Kelce. You're like, well, this is about as well as anybody's guarded Travis Kelce. And so then you start to see, like, wait, he can blitz. So you still see, like, that box stuff. But then the over-the-top stuff there, great scouting from the Broncos to move him into a slightly different role, more expanded, a well-rounded role after being pretty limited before.
Dare I say a more valuable role?
You would. And I wouldn't say
and, we were just talking about Kirby Joseph's contract. What's BJ making?
He's a steal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
After that, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Trayvon Merritt, Kalen Bullock, it rounds out the 15 guys who are kind of ranked, and then you get to the receiving votes.
Bullock only played 1 year in the NFL.
Yeah, rookie.
Wow.
Yeah.
High
3
praise.
years, $20 million for Brandon Jones going into year 2.
Pretty nice. And Talanoa Hufanga's and also received votes.
Do you think it's wrong to have him behind Brandon Jones?
No, I think it's probably right. Because you're rewarding the guys that are playing.
True.
I think Talanoa is a worthy top 5 to 7 selection if he's playing double-digit 15-plus games, no doubt.
Yeah.
With him not being able to have done that so far, that's where we're at, you know?
Yep. It's kind of where I'm at as well. I think there's a good case for him. Again, very similar to Brandon Jones in a way, which makes sense because that's what the Broncos value. That's part of the reason you let Justin Simmons want a little bit more box presence. They value, or they could use his over-the-top abilities a little bit less, or would, just by keeping the offenses honest, rotating both down. I think Hufanga, and going back and watching him, again, it's the over-the-top stuff, which you know he has, but seeing it play out on the field reminds you just how good he is at that, because he does have the reputation of being the box safety, the hitter, when it really is like the deep stuff. That's where he gets the interceptions. It's the quick reads that make up for the 4-5 whatever 40 time that made him a 5th round pick after he was a consensus All-American at USC. So having him lower right now, sure, it's the injuries, but to me, very comparable players in a lot of ways. A little more box probably from Hufanga, a little more hit power from Hufanga, and that's maybe the special sauce there that could bump him up. But yeah, don't underrate Brandon Jones and what he does in the box as well. Even if we didn't see that as much last year as we saw the over the top probably.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about how the Lions have divulged premium resources to their safety duo.
Yep.
the Broncos also have a safety duo with both featured in the top 20 and have had to dedicate fewer resources to put that together.
Totally.
But I think, it's at the core of what the upside for this defense could be is like if those two safeties plus your two nickel defenders are playing at a really high level, this is going to be a tough defense to mess with, man.
Yep.
Especially when you have the best outside corner in the game.
And if you want to see this defense, which I recommend you do, because it's going to be an awesome defense. There's a lot of really good players, not just those two.
Phenomenal.
Then you can see that defense by going over to Game Time. Game Time is awesome. It's where I go for all the tickets. I made it to. I made it to the Yankee series, Dodger series, Mets series, except for they finished with the day game, so I missed that. Phillies series, Diamondbacks.
Yikes,
and then
man.
I thought there might be one more, plus like an opening day game.
Yikes.
And that was it. So I have to go back and count whether I actually made it to 20 Rockies games. That was the goal for the summer. And now it's over because it's football season. There's really no time to be going to watch baseball. But hopefully I hit my 20. All those tickets bought from Game Time. The best deals. That's where you should be going.
Incredible. I know Kate, as a birthday gift, took me to the Rapids game with the family.
Was that the yesterday one? No, because that wouldn't have been your birthday.
A couple weeks ago. She didn't go through Game Time. I was quite upset.
Wow.
Yeah, I did not care for that.
Wow.
Game Time's what I do.
That is tough. Well, we'll have to send this ad over there. You can go to FIFA World Cup games if you're interested in that. They've got tickets to everything. NHL, MLB, NBA. Next summer. Oh.
Club World Cup this summer.
I see because I see the FIFA World Cup games and the dates 6/15 to 7/13. Those are the dates that we're doing this ad, not the dates of the FIFA World Cup. Because I'm sure I would have heard something if the World Cup was going on,
I really hope so, man. I really hope so.
Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code DNVR for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Yeah, and a shout out to our friends at Empire Today. Just like our teams need the home court advantage. Speaking of World Cup, Team USA struggles with home court advantage.
Yeah.
All the fans are rooting for the other teams. Empire Today, though, they give you that home court advantage with wooden floors that would make you think you're on the floor at Ball Arena.
Mm-hmm.
What's UCLA's court?
Oh, wooden.
John Wooden, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, wooden court.
Yeah.
Because then I think Ryan had...
I came off as an on-ball knower. That makes me sad.
Ryan had a girlfriend he was watching a game with who saw the court and said, "Why do they say it's wooden court? We can all see it's wooden." Thought you'd like that one. Yep, that's how I know it is wooden court.
She knows ball less than us.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I wonder she'd be shocked to know we're talking about her right now.
Shout out to her, no doubt. And Empire Today, boy, were they amazing to work with when they installed the floor we are currently sitting on top of. Look, you can go to a big box store. You can go to this, that, and the other place. Try to deal with some poor employee who has no clue about anything flooring related. They can't afford new flooring. They've never done it themselves, Empire Today, that's what they do, baby. Floors is all they know. It's all they care about. You want to ask them about windows? Get out of here. That's not what they do.
They would laugh in your face.
Walls, ceilings? I'm not going to curse on their read, but you get it.
Yes.
Stop with the nonsense. Flooring. And if you don't have a solid foundation, Hank, what do you have? Yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Stumped them because the answer is nothing. Zilch. Zero. Empire Today, they've got you covered no matter what you do. New floors, it's what they do. and they're true homies. They've been with us forever. You've been watching these shows and seen this for a gazillion times. That's Empire Today for you right there, folks. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. DNVR listeners can receive a $350 discount. Look at that beautiful graphic right there when using promo code, you guessed it, DNVR. Yes, you heard right. $350 discount with code DNVR. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday/DNVR for full details.
All right. We
could have gone another 2 segments on those.
We
safeties.
really could.
Also, Jose's complaining we're not talking linebackers. That'll come, right?
That will come. There will be linebacker rankings. Just you wait.
That'll be a tough one for Broncos guys to be featured.
Yeah,
in.
I don't think Singleton will make it.
Greenlaw's got a chance. He's definitely going to be mentioned in the article.
Yeah.
Drew Sanders, Hive? Justin Sternad?
Certainly not. No, I mean, these are the 20.
I'm a Drew Lever, so.
I am also a Drew Lever. At the same time.
Had you heard the term before?
Can't put him on my top 10 NFL linebackers ballot.
What?
Yep, I'm sorry.
He's my 7th.
Wow. Dang.
My list is just Drews that play linebacker, though.
Drew Tranquil.
Different spelling, but.
It's true.
Yeah.
Drew. One more thing on the safeties, and this is only half related.
Please.
I was writing about the safeties last night because of all the weird stuff with PJ Locke. Where part of the reason you can go get a Talanoa Hufanga is that you don't have to trust the health, because guess what? You have your starting safety from last year still on the roster. And that's a nice little backup insurance piece to have. Turns out with the back surgery, who knows where he'll be at.
Plus Jade.
Yeah. Well, and then you go and sign Sam Franklin. So, again, there's this weird thing people do with free agents where it's like, oh, this is the big money guy. He's one of the best in the NFL. But then it's a low money guy. It's like, oh, he's nobody. And there's no middle ground when it comes to a fan base reaction to because I bet to Broncos fans, Hufanga behind Brandon Jones. Oh no, shocking, because he's the new fun shiny toy. But Sam Franklin, it's like, well, that's nothing. Broncos under Sean Payton have given out in the past 2 years 14 veteran minimum contracts. 9 of those guys have made the roster. So right there you see good chance. Sam Franklin's contract, the first fully guaranteed veteran minimum contract they've given out. So Fabian Moreau, Levi Wallace, Michael Burton, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Throckmorton, none of those guys have got, most of them very little guarantees. Throckmorton, Lil Jordan Humphrey, no guarantees last year. So they pretty much showed that he is going to make the roster. And again, hindsight makes more sense knowing PJ Locke was dealing with that. His status is uncertain. Yeah. But it does add a strange thing, strange dynamic in that locker room, because typically there's no room for the young guys to kind of break out, because you kind of have the 2 vets, assuming PJ's healthy, which he might not be. As I was writing, though, to circle all the way back, I wrote, before Franklin, PJ Locke was worth his weight in gold to the Broncos.
Yes.
So I looked up how much PJ Locke, who's 202 pounds, that would be worth $5.9 million if he was made of gold, which is almost exactly what he would be worth to the Broncos. Isn't that crazy?
When the guy speaks,
isn't that crazy?
He means it, you guys.
Isn't that crazy?
Spitting straight facts.
That might be his exact value. It reminds me of when Alex Singleton signed the 3-year, $18 million contract with the with the Broncos, not the Rockies, and a one ton of $20 bills, $18.3 million. It's almost got a single ton.
Brother, the world just math.
Once
math
every couple years we get something
everywhere.
like this, and as long as you Google what all these things actually would be,
I feel like you're Archimedes figuring out physics for the first time. You're like, oh my God, math is everywhere. It all just lines up.
It all adds up. It's a simulation.
Sam Franklin, big boy.
Big boy.
6'3", 210 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah. And PJ smaller, but plays up, similar to the Jaquan conversation, especially all that sort of stuff. To me, Sam Franklin is just PJ Locke light. PJ Locke, if PJ had never had 3 sacks in 3 straight games, the game-winning forced fumble against the 49, all the things that added up for him to get a year as a starter, were the plays, as PJ has said, just kind of dried up last year. If he'd gotten 2 more picks in there, a couple more,
it is
then
a
all
dry
of a sudden
climate.
it'd be different. But also, It's a dry climate. Okay.
20 minutes.
20 minutes. Let's get these power rankings.
like
20 minutes. We got a minute per spot.
brought to you by Diehards.
Brought to you by Diehards. Yes.
Yeah, become a DNVR diehard today.
Yes. All right. We're going to hit these AFC Power Rankings.
Yeah, you got it, Hank.
Let's say no Packers Day. Like I said, minute per spot. Number 1.
Start from 16? No, we should start from 1. We should start from
Yes.
1. I'll take the Ravens.
Okay. I think I was also going to take Chiefs in the conversation, of course. They're
Certainly. Bills
reigning
as well.
AFC champs.
Yeah.
Bills, the other team, I think deserves at least consideration here.
Yep.
Ravens, though, I mean, you just look at all the different things they can do. The power running, the passing, like every single thing that they can do. It's just tough to imagine they won't find a way to beat you. And I think that's why, to me, I would agree they're number 1.
Very complete team. Yep.
I think Bills Chiefs is the tougher conversation.
It is. Especially since the Chiefs kind of tend to beat those guys, right? That's been the favorable matchup for KC, and the Bengals have been the kind of more favorable matchup against KC. There's a little rock, paper, scissors going on there.
So here's a fun stat.
Yeah, please.
Chiefs 15-2 last year. Last loss, of course, Broncos 38-0. They didn't play their starters. Basically a 15-1 team.
Certainly.
The nerds have stats like Pythagorean wins, where they look at all the different
estimated win. I used to calculate that 100%. Yeah.
Chiefs were at 10 last year. They should have been a 10-win team, not 15.
I was going to bring this up. That's purely based on point differential. So top of the AFC in point differential, the Ravens are tied with the Bills at plus 157. The Broncos are actually third at plus 114.
So blowout win week 18 against the Chiefs.
Certainly.
Blowouts against the Saints and the Falcons, right? Which Panthers won a blow. They blew out 2 of the 3 NFC South teams. So
the Chargers are the only other team in the AFC with triple-digit point differential at plus 101. And then the Chiefs are third in their division, 6th in the AFC for 5th in the AFC for point differential at plus 59. 98 points fewer than Ravens and Bills.
Yep. So
they won a lot of close games. I mean, that's what that means.
And so if you took all the names off of this and all that sort of stuff and sent it to some like nerd who just sits in like a cubicle somewhere and said, what's up with this team? They would say, oh, this team was really, really, really lucky. But to those of us who actually watch the games, you would say, actually, it's Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, and at the end of games, they do a really good job of finding ways to close out those games. And so it may be, on paper, it comes off as luck.
I think it's also defense set up to close out games.
True.
You know?
Totally.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally.
It sure puts things in perspective, though.
It really does.
I have a hard time putting the Chiefs out ahead of the Bills, though. I'll just say that.
When you look at the teams on paper,
let's jinx them.
Bills. Go
Chiefs.
Bills. Go Chiefs here to jinx them.
To jinx them.
Sure, why not? I mean, Chiefs Bills is kind of a toss up. Bills, great defense. Those corners now are very good. The linebackers
the Chiefs' defense
are good.
Is better though.
How much of that is scheme? I mean, they do have talent. But just when you go like edge rusher, Russo over Karlaftis, I think. I guess we looked at the list yesterday, and I'm not sure they agreed.
Yeah, I would probably go Karlaftis.
Interior, you go Chris Jones over
Ed Oliver.
Yep. Linebacker, Nick Bolton's still there, good. Matt Milano, though, is an absolute monster.
Sure.
I think you win that one. Again, positional value, how does that matter?
Yeah.
Corners, let's see. Do they still have McDuffie? Snead is the one who left.
Yeah.
McDuffie played well, bounced him outside. Christian Benford and those guys. They're more like underrated, but surprisingly good guys for the Bills.
Yeah.
Maybe you do go Chiefs even just on talent. And then scheme-wise, they've...
You know where the Chiefs have the real advantage over the Bills is coaching, I think.
Probably, yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's go Chiefs.
So go KC 2, Buffalo 3. Let's go 4. Are the Broncos good enough for that 4 spot? Point differential says yes.
So who is in consideration?
I think this next tier, the top 3 was a tier of its own.
Yep.
I think we're into the next tier.
I have 4 and honestly maybe a 5th team in this tier. So to me, you look at Texans, Chargers, Broncos, Bengals. And
I think it's Texas, Chargers, Broncos are a tier of their own.
I'd almost throw the Steelers in there too.
I know.
And I
Who's
think
playing quarterback for?
Aaron Rodgers. Who, again, we talked to Baldy about it. Aaron Rodgers, not good. Better than Russ last year. Better than Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett the year before. And they've made the playoffs 4 of the past 5 years. Back-to-back years. Like,
yeah.
It's maybe more of like a
and they
high
added
floor,
DJ,
low
got rid
ceiling
of,
argument.
Yeah.
But I would be more surprised if the Steelers missed the playoffs than I would be if the Chargers, Bengals, or Texans missed the playoffs.
Okay. Who has the highest ceiling of those 3 teams? Well, let's say 4 teams. So Texans, Chargers, Steelers, Broncos. I think the Bengals are out of this, if you'll allow. Just for process of elimination, moving this a little quicker.
I'd say Bengals have a higher ceiling than any of them, though.
Okay, fair.
Yeah. To me, Chargers, to me, the very average run game last year, but they lean on it. Passing game won't be any better this year. Run game, you hope that development of the offensive line, you hope Najee Harris and Omarion Hampton, they get more out of it. Defense was the number 1 scoring defense in the NFL. I don't look at that defense and say, great defense. Scare me, no. So to me, for them to match what they did last year, they need the regression of the defense to be less than the growth of the running game. I don't think it happens. I know they're like the trendy pick. I think the Chargers are worse in 2025 than they were in 2024. Again, if we're talking ceiling, though, ceiling is running game becomes dominant. Ladd McConkey is enough to carry the passing game, and the offense is functional. And then defense is just what it was last year, which, again, they were able to get it done. So maybe the ceiling really is there.
Yeah, I don't think it's as high as the Broncos ceiling. I don't think it's as high as the Texans ceiling. And I do feel like it's probably higher than the Steelers ceiling, who's probably the lowest ceiling, might be in the running for highest floor, however.
I think the Steelers probably do have the highest floor. I think Chargers have a case.
Chargers have a high floor as well.
Yeah. And maybe the Broncos, can you call it a high floor with that defense?
I think the Broncos have a really nice combination of high ceiling and high floor is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
I think the Texans probably have the greatest variance between the two after the Bengals.
Yeah. I think Broncos and Texans are very similar. You have really good defenses. I think you do go Broncos defense on paper.
I would, yeah.
Offensively,
I think you like the weapons better in Houston. You like the trenches better in Denver. Yep. And the running game is probably the tiebreaker, and that's advantage Houston.
Yeah. No, I mean, it adds up.
I don't know that I believe Houston is the 4th best team. I kind of feel like they're not the sum of their parts. They also have an easier path in the AFC South, which maybe should be considered. I
think any one of these teams, if I see the 4 by their name, I'd be like, it seems like a little bit high.
Agreed.
I think that would be any one of them.
Actually,
I think I just have to get past that mental block.
Let's go Broncos.
Let's go Broncos.
Broncos at 4.
Texans up next.
Houston at 5?
Yeah.
I kind of hate them, though.
Yeah.
If there was a regression candidate in the AFC, Houston might be it for me.
It could be. Again,
you're right that defense is good, though.
It really is good. I mean, those 2 edge rushers together, like if they don't get, I think their reasonable goal, maybe not reasonable, their hope is that they get 30 sacks from those 2. Like you hope Will Anderson's a 15-sack guy.
Yeah,
You've seen Daniil Hunter has proven that he's that kind of guy. And when you have that as a starting point, then you throw in Derek Stingley, he's not Pat Surtain, but he is a great cornerback. Maybe a second best cornerback in the NFL. You throw in C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who you added, Kalen Bullock, who we just talked about on the list after his great rookie season, still Christian Harris and Azeez Al-Shaair. Like they've got, they have the track record of being a really good defense last year. I think by DVOA they were 3, Broncos were 4 last year. I think it's better this year.
There's a brilliant mind behind the defense as well.
True.
Like D'Amico's got a really nice track record as a head coach. And they're in an easy division. Like, I think that's the knock on Bengals and, the teams in the North and the teams in the West. It's tough.
Yep.
Okay. Speaking of Chargers, Steelers, Bengals, how would you organize those guys?
I'm starting to keep an eye on. Yeah, no, that is right. I would go. I think I'd go Chargers last of that group. I like the Steelers and the Bengals.
In that order?
I believe so. I believe Steelers, Bengals, Chargers would be my order. Again, it's just Bengals with that upside, with that passing game.
I know, but Bengals are really screwing up this offseason, man. It's hard to believe that defense is even going to be better.
I know, but at the same time...
They drafted kind of crappily, but I agree on the ceiling.
Just by pure randomness, I think they got unlucky last year. And I think that they certainly were a bad team. It's similar to when you talk about the Rockies and you say, like, yes, they are very, very bad. You can't be historically bad without, like, some bad breaks, you know? And I think they had a bunch of those. I think the difference between the Bengals and the Broncos last year was just that the Bengals blew a couple games against bad teams, whereas the Broncos didn't. They beat every sub 500 team, but neither team was able to pull off like an upset win. But the Chiefs were so close. Week 1, they blow it. They lose 16-10 to the Pats. There's the difference between making the playoffs and not with the Broncos. You lose 26-25 to the Chiefs. You lose 38-33 to the Commanders. You lose 41-38 to the Ravens. There's just so many of these close games. You lose 35-34 to the Ravens. So many of these close games that they were right there in, and things just didn't go their way. I think you see some positive
just
regression.
Like the Chiefs get the benefit of the doubt because they are able to close out late games.
True.
I think they should get knocked for not closing out late games.
I agree.
It also shows how pitiful that defense was.
Yes. I would say that we have knocked them by putting them down here.
Okay. So
if I were to tell you
Bengals at 6 or Steelers at 6?
I would go Steelers in front.
Okay, let's go Pittsburgh at 6, Cincinnati at 7.
Yep.
And then
Chargers.
Superchargers at 8.
Okay.
Those are our playoff teams, Hanky.
Those would be, wouldn't they?
Well, minus our playoff team plus the first out.
Plus the first out. I think so next tier, Dolphins should probably be in here.
Are they in a tier of their own?
I think the Patriots I would probably have up next.
Wow.
Again,
how do you feel about the Colts and Browns and Jaguars?
I think Colts could get it. Colts should probably be in this conversation. To me, Colts, Patriots, defense is Patriots, I think pretty easily. And then offense.
Is it?
I think so. I think
Patriots defense was a bit,
Yes, it was. But then you throw in Milton Williams. I guess Harold Landry isn't like a huge difference maker. But you get Christian Barmore back from injury. And they're still like a piece away from being awesome. But you also bring in Carlton Davis. So now your starting corners are Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis.
Sure.
Who, like Carlton Davis, maybe not a superstar, enough to like level things out so that if Christian Gonzalez is as dominant as it looked like he was last year. And then offensively, obviously the kicker is like, what if Drake May is good? And it looked like it. But that running game obviously isn't going to be as good as the Colts. Passing game, you would think much, much better than the Colts, though. Just given that it's Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. And I think that's where the tiebreaker goes to.
Yeah.
I go Pats. Would you?
Miami, though, first, right?
I think it's close.
I don't think the Pats have closed that gap.
Okay. We can go Miami first.
I also feel like what the Jets are doing, what the Browns are doing, like there's some intrigue. Hank, if Flacco starts again for the Browns, don't you think there's something there?
Compared to Drake May, though? And I wasn't a Drake May. I hated Drake May in the draft.
I don't know who he's throwing to, who's blocking for him.
Who's throwing to Stephon Diggs and Mac Hollins, if Stephon Diggs even exists.
Mac Hollins? Are you kidding me? Who's next? Lil Jordan Humphrey?
There is one guy who cooked Pat Surtain for a deep ball touchdown last year. Mac Hollins. He's a good receiver. He's not a great receiver, but again, who are the Browns have Jerry Jeudy.
Miami gets the
There's
September
Stephon Diggs.
bump, you know?
Okay. Yep.
Patriots will get the December bump.
Okay. I'm fine with Miami first.
Okay. Miami 9.
Browns, though.
New England 10. Indy 11.
Yeah.
Jets. Aaron Glenn might be turning me into a believer now that we've done these exercises on how these exercises are really like enlightening in how the Lions built their team. And it kind of is like, yeah, Aaron Glenn's like following that mold.
Yeah. Do they have
So much of this comes down to, are you a Justin Fields believer? Are you a Tua believer?
Yeah.
Are you a Daniel Jones believer?
I am not a Justin Fields. I mean, I guess you take Fields over Daniel Jones.
Correct. Yeah,
but-
like I almost want to be frisky and put the Jets before the Colts. I also think the Browns before the Colts isn't the worst.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Like we forget the Browns were 11-6 in 2023 with Joe Flacco starting most of those games.
no, totally. You're correct. I made a lot of money on that team. Maybe it is Browns.
See?
Yep. Yeah, we can get behind Browns.
There you go.
Wait, before the Patriots?
Fine, put the Patriots
Okay,
at 10.
give me the Patriots there.
Then Cleveland at 11.
Yep. Let's see.
Then Jets or Jets or Colts.
Jets or Colts? I'd probably go
4
Colts,
minutes.
but if you're a Jets guy, we can go Jets.
That Jets defense is like popping, and they've got some playmakers. They've really added to the offensive line, and like a bit more of a meat and potatoes Justin Fields offense might make it work.
Maybe.
Well,
yeah.
Daniel Jones, this whole like, oh, you got the Minnesota rehab. Like, be serious,
no. Daniel
bro.
Jones sucks. But also,
Okay, give me the Jets at 12.
what did Joe Flacco even do last year? Because 2 years, the
The
difference
Browns
between age,
are on the board, Hank. We got to keep
no,
moving.
I don't think it's wrong. But the difference between age 38 and Joe Flacco and age 40 could be significant. Could be. Could he be worse than Daniel Jones?
It's
Maybe
a
not.
year
Maybe
difference, brother.
not. 38 and 40. Well, I thought he was bad last year. Is the thing.
He was bad.
Yeah,
Where'd they have him playing, though? I forget. Wasn't he at the Colts?
he was with the Colts.
Yeah, the Colts terrible.
Colts
man.
downgraded.
Colts are terrible.
Downgraded. We'll give him that.
So is it Colts next at 13?
Let me double check with these.
I'm kind of
standings.
feeling a little Jaguar-esque.
Yeah, or even Raiders might be too low on this.
Ooh, Raiders.
We might have made
Give
a
me
mistake.
Raiders at
Yep,
13.
Raiders
Give me
can't
Raiders
go
at
further
13.
than this. And that probably is the Jags, who also might be too low.
Yep. I'm with the Jags. Then Colts
Yep.
and Titans.
And then
Dead
poor
last.
Titans.
We're not Cam Ward guys. I'm sorry.
No.
Scam Ward guys, maybe because of all the money he lost me betting on Wazoo and then Miami.
Yeah.
Idiot.
Yeah. I also, for what it's worth, was not Drake May or Bo Nix guy at this time last year.
I was a Drake May guy.
Yeah. And as it would turn out, those two look kind of awesome. So
Yeah.
I hopefully can't. Well, maybe not. Hopefully, Cam Ward proves me wrong. But they're too early to say for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's
Callahan's
hit-
dead man walking. I don't think there's much.
We can end this.
Okay.
We got a minute. I pulled up Bet365's win lines, just so we can see what they think versus what we think.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So number one, we've got the Ravens. They've got the Ravens at 11.5, slight favorite on the over.
Okay.
Chiefs, they have at. So we have Chiefs number 2. Have to remember the podcast listeners. Chiefs at number 2. They have heavy favorites at over 10.5. So they
Okay.
agree with that piece.
Yep.
Buffalo Bills, who we have number 3, they have they're torn between 12.5 and 11.5. Looks like they're more so 12.5. But favored on the under.
The odds would have the Bills as the 1 seed, huh?
Yeah.
As the number 1 on the power
They would.
rankings. Okay.
We have the Broncos. They have the Broncos win total at 9.5, favored on the under. We have the Texans at number 5. They have the Texans at 9.5. So same as the Broncos, exact same odds, slight favorite on the under. Steelers, they have at 8.5, slight favorite on the under. Bengals, we have at 7.
Broncos at 9.5 is solid.
It is. Bengals, we have at 9.5. They have at 11.5, favored on the under. Wait, I might have read that wrong. Oh, yes, and we are headed to
We're
overtime.
going to overtime,
so
baby.
checks on the
Thumbs up
internet.
time.
No,
Thumbs up time.
Bengals are 9.5 favored on the over. So they would have them slightly in front of the Broncos.
Well, they're both at 9.5, right?
Yes. Bengals favored on the over. Broncos.
Another way to
Steelers
look
on
at
the
this
under.
is to win the AFC,
Let's hit that next.
where the Chiefs are slight favorites at plus 300, ahead of Ravens plus 340, Bills plus 375. A tier of their own, as we identified.
Can we jump back to the graphic real quick?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bengals plus 1,000 would be next. So that's as the 4 seed when we have the Bengals at 7.
Yeah.
Chargers are next at plus 1,100. Texans after that, and then Broncos. Broncos tied with the Steelers.
Yes.
And then it's the Dolphins.
Interesting. So win totals, Chargers 9.5 favor on. So they're the exact same as the
And then crazy
Broncos,
enough, it's the Pats.
Dolphins 9.5 or 8.5. So 7.5 for the Dolphins. There we go. 7.5 for the Dolphins. They have the same order there. We have 10 Patriots.
Yeah, they're high on the Dolphins.
We have 10 Patriots. They have that at 8.5.
Yeah.
So slightly behind the
Pats
Broncos.
are pretty high for them.
That's a good, well-built football
And then it's
team.
Jags, Colts, Raiders. So even though we might feel like we're low on the Raiders, not as high as Bet365 or the bookies out there are, then Jets, Brownies, Titans.
Yeah.
I might place a little wager on the Brownies. I think
So Browns on ours, we've got them at 11. They've
Yeah.
got 5.5 wins favored on the under. Heavy favorite on the under. Jets at 12.
I'm placing them over 6.5, I think.
Okay.
I'm doing it, Hank.
Jets at 12. They have favored on the over at 5.5. Raiders, we have 13, which I think we really screwed up. I think that should be higher. They say favorite on the over at 6.5, so they don't think it's egregious. Jags, they have
Off-ball linebackers will be the 15th. I will not be on that show. Sad.
they say Jags were way too low on. They have favored on the over at 7.5. Colts at 15. They have 7.5, pretty even. Then Titans last.
I think top 3, bottom
They have
3 we nailed.
I think
Just the middle.
the Browns are right down there at the bottom in hindsight. I think
It's 11-win team from 26,
Browns,
Hank.
Jets. I know.
It's Joe Flacco's time. Well, and when he doesn't work out, it's Shador's time.
I know. But like
It's going to be amazing.
But yes. If we have Cam Ward way down there, I like Shador better than Cam Ward.
Right.
I don't think he's like, whoa. I think it's like,
No, what's whoa is how much better their defense and their coaches.
yeah. The
Stefanski's
defense
a
took
good
step back.
coach. He's not like
defense took a step back.
someone who needs a chaperone like Callahan in Tennessee, you know?
Totally. No. But I mean, I wouldn't put the Titans in front of them. I just think that maybe down there with the Colts, like Raiders should be in front of them.
Browns. We can have a Browns wager.
We should have a Browns
Pizza
wager.
bet.
We should have a Browns wager. Okay, that's going to do it for today. We didn't talk about the Packers. We'll do that later on. Maybe
Probably
tomorrow.
not until I'm done with the show.
Probably not, which
Expect
is
that
fine.
on
We'll save
Tuesday.
it.
Yeah.
More rankings tomorrow. Potential little film thing. We'll figure it out. But appreciate you guys for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.